TV.
Well, at this opportune moment, I'm now joined by Sharifa Buzeki. She is the Commissioner Inspection and Quality at the Ministry of Public Service. And the conversation is going to be largely centered around the establishment of a service delivery standards center. Well, acquaint us. What is this all about, Sharifa? A very good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. The Ministry of Public Service, on behalf of Government of Uganda, is working to establish, document service delivery standards against which services provided by Government of Uganda will be based. This is in terms of quality, quantity, cost, time, and coverage. Majorly, we are doing this. These service delivery standards, some of them are found in the various guidelines we use for implementation, the laws that establish institutions, but our clients may not be able to procure all those laws, all those guidelines. So we want to document them to empower clients to demand for our services.
Why?
The reason why we are doing that, one is to build the civic competence of the population of Uganda, to enable them to be able to hold us accountable for our actions and inactions, to enable our own providers, the institutions of government, to know what measure of services are they supposed to provide, and also enhance their performance and accountability to the public.
What criteria do you use?
To develop the standards?
Yeah, to develop the standards.
Yeah, you are aware that we are now under NDP 3. We have different institutions are coming up with various interventions, which we are going to implement for the next 5 years. And in enhancing equality or equity in development across all the areas of Uganda, districts and local governments, we feel that we should be able to put in place what we would call standardization and uniformity in whatever we do. For example, Ministry of Public Service established one-stop centers. There are a range of services delivered there from various institutions, Uganda Revenue Authority, immigration, and so on. Does a Ugandan know how much time it takes for him or her to acquire a passport? Does he or she know that it is at a fee? And if it is, how much is it? So that we remove these middlemen who come to say, no, if you bring this, it will be expressed 2 million, 3 million. Can we standardize? Can we tell the people, this is how we do it and at this cost? So we are trying to look at the strategic objectives under the NDP. Under each of the 18 programs, what have they set to deliver? Then at what standard are they going to deliver that? After documenting all that, we'll publicize it to the public so that we empower the public to demand.
So standardization of these, establishment of all these standards meant to phase out corruption tendencies from the coffers of from the civil servants working for government.
That is one of them, because when the client is aware
that it's only 300,000, there is no way you're telling me 600.
No. Then if a client is aware that if I go to a government health facility,
I see,
the waiting time there is 30 minutes before I meet any health worker. These other people who are there to do blocking within the health center will not do that. I'll wait for 30 minutes. If nothing happens, I'll question, where are the health workers? In the Ministry of Works, if we are saying that we have zero tolerance to ponding in roads, we don't want potholes in roads. When it happens in your neighborhood, you are able to report that you said you don't want this, but it is happening here.
You are starting with technical assistance to 3 sectors, that is agriculture.
Yes, we are majorly...
agriculture, tourism.
We have prioritized service sectors because those touch the heart of the service recipient. So we have started with the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries because it's the backbone of our economy. Most of our citizens are engaged in that. Then tourism, we have brought it on board because of its importance in contributing to the revenue of the country, and justice,
law and order society,
sector, because it touches everyone. Even if you are not a criminal, when you are a foreigner who wants to work in Uganda, you will interact with it because you want a working permit. If you are in the village there, you think it doesn't touch you, you'll have to register for birth, death, and so on. So it touches everyone. And we thought if we start with those 3, then we can add all other service sectors.
What is next in that plan?
After we have documented these standards, one, they will aid planning, because if you say, in terms of coverage, every parish should have a primary school. Government will work towards that. We have these newly elected leaders. They will have a point of reference. They will say, I have 168 parishes in my district, but I only have 70 schools. So now, when allocating funds, government already is aware that there is a gap in this particular district, because the standard is that each parish should have a school.
So the establishment of service delivery standards, does it come with some kind of punishment, punitive punishments to people who are not actually being compliant? In that, if I go to a hospital and there is no medicine, yet it's supposed to be there, or if it's free and they're making me pay, and I report, where do I report? In fact, and what happens to that person or the hospital?
Okay. Now, after having these standards established, we have a reflection of them in the client charters of the institutions, and those client charters have a feedback mechanism. A mechanism through which a client can provide feedback. It has a complaints mechanism. It has an appeal mechanism. Even if this person came to seek for service, for example, in the Ministry of Public Service, and it happens that one of us did not handle him or her well, the complaints management mechanism can be used by him or her to ensure that he lodges his complaint up to completion. And that will be handled together with our rewards and sanctions framework, where we sanction public officers who are errant. We have inspection agencies which will follow up on issues of compliance and non-compliance. We have the Auditor General in place.
Indeed.
We have the IGG.
Oh, so I like this.
So our sanction regime will work for those who are not compliant.
Of course, I was just having a conversation with the Public Procurement and Disposal Public Assets Authority, and the main conversation was largely centered around failure to disclose information to the public. Now, how would actually the establishment of service delivery standards handle that situation within the PPDA? Issues of corruption, issues of failure to divulge important information to members of the public, issues to do with failure to include women, youth, and people with disabilities. How would the establishment of service delivery standards come into force?
Now, one, before you question, why has this not been done?
Indeed.
One, is it an established requirement that it should be done? This is what these standards are trying to answer. That in the procurement and disposal procedures of government, this is what we do. We will present an offer. Within this period of time, there would be contractors who will respond. In case they are disgruntled with the process, there's an appeals tribunal. They can do this, and within this time, justice will have been done. Now, if that is well documented, that is what is supposed to be followed by PPDA. Any level of non-compliance will call for sanctions, and that will be documented and published to the citizens so that they can be able to question, but without you telling them that this is the standard against which we work. When they question, what is the basis? So we feel that if this is done, the standard operating procedures for PPDA, they should be documented. The standards against which they deliver their services should be known by those who want to work with them and those who benefit from them. And as such, people will be able to hold them accountable.
Can we ever have a single standard that is accessible to all civil servants, or that covers all civil servants?
It may not be a single standard, because we have categorized these standards.
Indeed.
We have the professional standards, we have the technical standards, which may, like for PPDA, the specifications. For example, we know that if you are in an urban center, if you are offering a water source, we have distance within 1.5 kilometers. That is in terms of distribution. So the standards are categorized: professional, technical, processes, and so on.
All right, what is the end benefit of this strategy before we wrap up?
The end benefit is that we will have uniformity in provision of services. If we are saying that the teacher-pupil ratio is 1 to 55. In Kabong, in Kamuli, in Namagunga, in Chitende, that will be the case. In terms of social development, this will guide equity in allocation of resources, equity in access of services, because we have a basis against which all of us have to develop.
Maybe we might grapple with implementation, but on paper and what I'm seeing right now, the development of service standards has been long overdue. Sharifa.
Yep.
And thank you very much for having made the time to speak to us on NTV Uganda.
You're welcome.